presenters, Leticia Rojas and Clara Lee, and of course, their students, and they will have a chance to introduce themselves to you in a little while. And you are in the Supporting Future Teachers of Color at the Community College workshop. This workshop will highlight an emerging initiative for Pasadena City College Hixon Teacher Preparation Program, the Future Teachers of Color Scholars Cohort Program. Presenters will include faculty, staff, and current cohort members involved in the program, and will focus on examining the need to diversify the teaching profession and the experiences of teachers of color. In addition, presenters will share the various tenets of the program, experiences from the different stakeholders, and visions for the future. The workshop will aim to be interactive and provide a space for attendees to reflect on their own practices as faculty or future teachers. And we'll transition to our presenters. Welcome, everyone.
Thank you so much, Ruth and Leah. My name is Dr. Leticia Rojas. I am education faculty and Hixon Teacher Prep co-coordinator with Clara Lee, who's also in this space. Joining us, we are a couple of students. We have Yesenia Aragon and Lauren Claire Avellino, and hopefully Zachary Kwan will also be joining us. And they're actually students in the Future Teachers of Color Scholars Program. So we're excited to also hear from them today. But thank you so much for being here. I'm taking a look at who's in this space. A lot of teacher prep educators, and so part of the reason we did this is also to get some feedback from you all. This is our second year doing the Future Teachers Scholars Program. It is our first year specifically focusing on future teachers of color. And so we want to definitely share some of what we've done this year. We're super proud of our start and our group, but also get some just ideas from you all who are doing the work as well. If you haven't done so, make sure that you go into the chat. If you can share your name, your role in your college. And this is something that we would love to get some feedback on, or some ideas. One thing you would like to learn today. And so that'll help us try to make sure that we do our best to hit that. And Claire and I will be looking at the chat as well as our scholars to get a sense of what you all are hoping to get from today. But again, thank you for being here. Again, share your name, role in your college. I see a lot of folks from Rio Hondo, Cerrito, Santa Ana, some familiar names, folks that presented a couple days ago. So I appreciate you being here. And anything that you are interested in learning about today. So what we'll do, I'll briefly talk about the need for teachers of color, something that I think we're all pretty familiar with. We'll share about who we are, our story, and how we kind of began this group. But I know that because a lot of you are specific to this kind of world of teacher prep at the community college level, we wanted to share some specific tenets, requirements, funding structures, kind of the logistics of running a program. I know if there's any students here that are students in teacher prep programs, please also feel like you can ask lots of questions, and we'll try to cater to you as well, for sure. Our successes and lessons learned so far. And then of course, we wanna have some time for testimonials and Q&A, but I wanna really have you all feel comfortable to ask questions throughout in the chat, use your mic if you'd like. We wanna make sure that this is as interactive as it can be in the hour that we're given, but I'm super excited to get us started here. So we'll start a little bit with this idea of like the need, right? And why potentially we shifted our focus to the future teachers of color, right? And what is the need for educators of color in the United States and of course in California. So first thing I'm gonna have you do, I'm going to, of course, try to make this a little bit more interactive than kind of just the lecture on Zoom. And again, we'll be hopefully using the mics and all of that. I'm gonna share a link into the chat in just 1 second here. And if you can, I want you to go into the Jamboard and just take a minute to answer this question, right? What are the benefits of increasing the number of teachers of color, right? We know that we don't have enough, right? And we know that it is something that all of us at our different institutions are very aware of and trying to really figure out ways to support our students in entering this field. But I'll give you about a minute or so. What are the benefits of increasing the number of teachers of color? What benefits are there for the profession, for students, et cetera? So I'll pause there for a minute. And if it's your first time using Jamboard, one kind of easier way to do it is if you click on the little Post-it icon on the left, and then you can type in your answer there. It's just a visual way of getting your answers all in one page. Thank you, Ebony. So I see different answers. I saw empathy. It promotes an inclusive classroom environment, inclusivity, diversity, representation for students. The ability to identify with teachers who look like you, bringing diversity into the classroom. Research demonstrates that teachers of color can lead to improved academic outcomes for students of color. Right? So we know that there's research, right, that shows the benefits of teachers of color, and we also know that intuitively, we know that there's a benefit, right? Many of us have benefited from those teachers who are educators who look like us, if we identify as folks of color, and then others of us have stories of the lack of educators of color in our own TK through 12th grade trajectory. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next slide. I know that there's not a whole lot of time, but appreciate you all answering that. If you haven't had a chance to put your thoughts into the Jamboard, if you can put it into the chat, we want to capture your voice there. And if I know this happens sometimes, if you did the green kind of half circle, if you can go ahead and erase that, just so it doesn't stay on our slides for the rest of the presentation. I know that's happened before. I think I should be able to actually. Ooh, I'm not able to. So whoever did the green kind of squiggle there, and we'll kind of make sure that we're able to kind of move on here.
I can't find the button, but as soon as I can, I will.
Perfect, no worries. It's happened before, so I completely get that. So
you just backspace. It's the arrow that's curved on top of the at the bottom of the screen.
Something about the different screen though, like remove the option.
We're having a coloring a coloring canvas here. What we'll do our best as folks figure that out. But one of the things that that you all talked about is this idea of the kind of benefits, right? Yes, research shows that there are lots of benefits, and yet we know that teachers of color are often entering spaces that have historically been alienating to students of color, right? So we know that there's a history of racism in schools with laws and policies, but also whiteness in the curriculum. And my particular work focuses on teacher low expectations, specifically sometimes low expectations that tend to permeate when there might be a cultural mismatch between teachers and students. We know that it is a very much heavily white profession, right? Even though we've started to see some progression. And this is one of the statistics, or one of the research areas that most gets me and makes me really reflect, is that that research, Rita Coley's work at UCR focuses on not just how do we increase the number of teachers of color, but how do we also support them in sustaining in the profession, because they actually leave the profession at higher rates, often due to pervasive racism in the workplace, working conditions, and they tend to also work in schools that do have structural and systemic issues like overcrowding, et cetera, right? And so, you know, Coley poses, teachers of color are more likely to see students of color as capable learners, understand the racialized experiences students face, and stand as their supporters and advocates. So students of color, and all students, right? Not just students of color, all students benefit from the presence of teachers of color. So knowing that, right, that was part of our kind of idea around how do we begin to create a program within our Hixon kind of larger program that is specific to supporting our future educators. We also, part of the research that, you know, ACTEP has done, or the work that they've done is also realizing that many of our future teachers start off at the community college level. So it's an ideal place to begin this work, if not earlier, in the high school setting. Right. So with that in mind, our last couple of years have really focused on how do we, you know, center anti-racist expectations and curriculum in our teacher prep, from, you know, kind of panels that focus specifically on equity to even some of our internships, like ethnic studies intern, wellness intern, trying to partner with schools that have that explicit vision. But this particular initiative, which we'll talk about today, is the Future Teachers of Color Scholars, which originated from that intention as well. And so I'll let Clara take it away.
Good morning, everyone. So just a snippet of the Hixon program in general. It was founded in 2000, and it is as a result of a large donation by the late Alexander and Adelaide Hixon. The Hixon Teacher Prep Program was created in order to provide a support system for students pursuing a career in teaching. So for years, we have been working to increase the teacher pipeline by supporting community college students who are aspiring teachers and are committed to diversifying the teaching force and preparing for future social justice educators. So back in 2021, Dr. Rojas and I were just brainstorming on how to get more students who are dedicated to pursue their education and career in teaching as a part of a student group that we follow, hence the cohort. So we were able to take this idea and put it in action. So our first cohort started in 2021. We followed them from fall 2021 to spring 2022. And this is also a result of the generosity of the Posey family. The donor actually is a big time donor at Pasadena City College for the nursing department, but they actually read about us somewhere, and then they asked the foundation director for more information in regards of the Hixon program. So with that donation, we were able to work with 17 amazing students, and some of the students have actually transferred PCC last year, and some are actually graduating and transferring this year. And then this year we were able to launch the second cohort, which we then changed to the Future Teachers of Color cohort, which aims to support up to 20 students of color and aspiring educators to provide them with financial, academic, and career support. We have 12 students who are very dedicated and awesome future leaders in education. And I think 2 of them are in this room, but I think we're hoping for 3. So they'll share a little bit about their experiences with us.
That I think sums up, like, we're always hoping, right, for more, and but we want to be in our conversations also very transparent about funding, because I know that's a very real kind of issue with doing this work. Part of our program mission and pillars, as we kind of were designing this program, we thought about, you know, what is our mission for this program? And it's to provide PCC students aspiring to be educators with the tools, resources, and experiences needed to become empowering, equity-minded classroom teachers. I know Ebony you talked about tuition assistance, mentorship, like the things that sustain folks in the profession. So we wanted to provide some of those as much as we could based on the capacity, right? So the donation from Posey family was $25,000, and so we used those funds for providing students with scholarships, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. And then of course all the funding that requires for gatherings and t-shirts and all of that kind of community kind of atmosphere. But our vision is, through a personalized system of support, including academic counseling, financial support, and access to real world classroom experiences, the program aims to better prepare students to meet their goals and become tomorrow's teachers. So the 4 pillars are supporting students' graduation and transfer goals, providing targeted support and connections to faculty, staff, and other community networks, creating a community where they can feel welcomed, building networks, because we know that's what sustains folks, and then hoping to develop future transformative, equity-minded classroom teachers. And so this is part of our promotional campaign and trying to recruit students to apply. Part of our support system, it's changed a little bit. We don't do the CBEST support anymore because of the different changes to the CBEST, but providing financial support, personalized and academic transfer support, access to panels and speakers, and access to internships and mentorships. We at PCC, our kind of counseling is very generalized. We are not as fortunate maybe as some folks who have like dedicated counselors to your programs. And so this was a chance for us to say, okay, how can we begin to really have our counselors specialized in teacher prep with a small number of students and kind of build that word. So one of our partners for this initiative is a PCC counselor who's able to dedicate 1 hour a week to our work here. I'll let kind of Clara talk a little bit about the funding structure.
So again, with the funding support, one of the biggest funder of the program is the Hixon funding. So it's an overall program funding, able to fund promotional items, scholarship offerings, and other expenses such as any like mixers or any events that's happening with our students. And then the second funding that we received was the Posey family funding. This was a one-time donation, and it helped launch the first future teachers cohort back in 21-22. And with this, we were able to provide $600 stipends for each cohort members. So we did 2 disbursements, one for the fall and one for the spring. And they actually get $200 bookstore voucher, which we disperse once in the fall and once in the spring as well. And the bookstore voucher, we connect them to our bookstore at PCC, and they're able to pretty much buy anything that they want. There's no discrepancy or any restrictions on that fund. And then for this year, with the investment of Mackenzie Scott, the Hixon Teacher Prep Program was one of the programs at PCC that was awarded the Community Excellence Grants. So with the Community Excellence Grant, we were able to provide an $800 stipend for each cohort members. And then we did the 2 disbursements again, plus the $200 bookstore voucher. And this will continually support our cohort for this year. And it actually helps us open up more, I guess, resources and funding for the different internships and fieldwork opportunities that we have.
Yeah. And we didn't get the Community Excellence Grant this year. So that's it's a kind of continuous application process now at PCC. But what we were able to do is be connected to the equity, Office of Equity at PCC. And so we're in conversations with them, and it looks like they might be able to at least support some of our efforts with Cohort 3. And so part of this has been just trying to find some of the more local opportunities for funding and applying to some of these smaller grants that kind of we come across and figuring it out. We're still trying to figure out, how does this work? How is it sustainable, right? Without having to apply to different funding every single year. But we're kind of trying to figure that out. And so as students are participating. These are the requirements of being in the program, right? So what do we do with the scholars? Part of our requirements is that they have to do one-on-one meetings with their academic counselor. So that's the academic counselor that provides about an hour a week or so, 1 or 2 times a semester. Plus we added this, they also have to meet with either myself or Clara once a semester. And that's because we felt like we wanted to get a sense of how they were doing. Those are more kind of informal check-ins. How are you doing? Can I help you with anything? Versus with the academic counselor, they're doing ed plans, they're doing the more kind of transfer support. They also have to attend different career and teacher talks. So we have a certain number of teacher talks that they have to attend, whether they're virtual or in person. They have to, so this semester, we had them apply to the scholarship fund. So that was a requirement. They do have to complete 8 hours of fieldwork requirement. And so many of them either have jobs as interns or work with students. I know Lauren wasn't working at a school. So what she and I did is we did a mentorship activity or a series of activities. So where she came into my classes and observed some of my teaching, we talked about the profession. So that counted as her fieldwork requirement for spring. So they have to complete 8. But the big thing that they did this year was they helped us with an educational equity conference. So we put on a big conference in January, and the scholars were instrumental in pulling that off. They were part of the planning meetings. They definitely were big leaders in that day where they introduced the speakers. They were at the registration table. We could not have pulled it off without them. And so that was definitely huge. And then also we know that, part of what students are craving, and now that we're back in person, is that community building. So we've done things like arts and crafts nights, different mixers, meeting at the lunch kind of space on campus, that sort of thing. Steve, I see your question. How do you recruit the students? Is there an application? Are there academic requirements for participation to maintain? So there is an application. We promote widely with counselors, our listserv. We try to have it on the screens, on the TVs all throughout campus. We don't start until fall, even though we'll kind of do a lot in the summer. But we know that we want to catch new students as well. And so they might not necessarily be on campus till that first or second week. So they do have a short application where we want to make sure that they are indeed thinking about teaching. But we have all sorts of majors. On purpose, we don't have a GPA requirement. We want to make sure that we're also supporting students who maybe are struggling, or many of our students are not. They're doing great, but we wanted to make sure that we remove some of the barriers. We're trying to recruit and promote at different student group organizations. One of the things that we're really trying to get better at is recruiting our Black students. And I think that's a school-wide kind of issue that we really need to tackle head on. And so that's, and that's something that we're working on. I know Clara sends it to like all the advisors for all student orgs, et cetera. I know I promote with my education classes a lot too as well. Yeah, that's great. So we're going to share a little bit about our successes of the year, lessons learned, and then we definitely want to get to the point where we hear from our students because we were so excited to have them here. But please post questions throughout. We want to make sure that we kind of share this space with you all.
So as Dr. Rojas mentioned, we hosted our first ever conference back in January. And the theme of the conference is Teaching for Equity, Reimagining the TK through 12th grade classroom. It involves over 150 PCC students, staff, faculty, and other community members. And we had Eduardo Lopez, who served as a social science teacher for the Montebello Unified School District as our keynote speaker. We had over 14 workshops options to choose from, ranging from community building, STEM, advocacy, social justice, and equity. And again, the cohort was a big part of that conference. I don't think Dr. Rojas and I can do it without them, honestly. It was a big event that we put up. And then if you can go to the next slide. So this is just some pictures from that conference. And also we had our full circle moment, I think, because two of our Hixon program students actually they've moved on from PCC and they came back and led a workshop with us. So it was a lot of, proud mama bear type of moment, but it was really nice to just have them be engaged with one another and build community. And then next slide, please. So these are just some pictures from our cohort activities. So we usually try to do a mixer at the start of the semester after recruitment of our cohort, just to get them to know each other, and then also have the space for them to engage and also share about their journey at PCC and make friends with one another. So we also have kind of like random mixers at the middle of the semesters and the end of the semester. So we did a paint night, we did a pizza night, we did a lunch at the PCC cafeteria, and then also Dr. Rojas was able to get some students from our cohort to help her table at the education, speech language pathologist and child development event on campus. So that's just a picture of them there. And then the most recent and our latest event that we did was the award ceremony. So we did a spring 2023 award ceremony. So it includes our scholarship winners, also students who are transferring or graduating this year. And we were able to recognize our future teachers of color cohort and celebrate them with all their achievements. So this is just one picture, but a lot of these cohort members are actually a part of, a scholarship winner. And also they did internships with us. They did mentorship programs with us. So really proud of them.
Yeah, definitely. And I think one of and I'm just, as I'm watching the pictures and looking at it, one of the needs, right, of having a group in this group is exceptional, is that Claire and I are just, two kind of people on campus. And so to be able to really then promote to other students and to be able to really have them be able to join kind of these different communities, you need a student organization. I know some schools have like the Future Teachers Club and different, we used to have SCTA on campus, Student California Teacher Association. And so this is our go-to group for a lot of things. We're always asking things of them, and we appreciate, right, the help that they give. Some lessons learned from the experience. The transition from COVID to in-person. I mean, we're still navigating things. So we've kept some things virtual versus in person. And, last year's cohort definitely was in the kind of the thick of it. We were trying to figure out, like, when do we have in-person mixers, et cetera. As much as, Claire and I sometimes think we're doing, we could always be doing more. Like students, I'm doing exit interviews right now with every single scholar. We're having like a short 30-minute conversation where I ask them to give us, critical feedback to improve the program. We're, just asking about who they are and their kind of aspirations, and making sure that they feel that next year, if they're at PCC, that they'll continue to be part of our community. But they keep asking for more opportunities to connect with one another. They want more mixers. So we'll have to think about this summer, like, what does that mean in terms of our capacity? What does it mean? Maybe we can also maybe provide like a voucher for them to have a gathering, not necessarily always with us, right, as the facilitators. And one of the things that, I think that we're going to try to be more explicit next year is to have a more explicit anti-racist curriculum in the program itself. So we definitely did an ed equity conference. They learned a lot from the presenters, but some of our mixers and our orientation were really about the logistics of the program. So we're thinking we're going to bring in like a literature circle for our next year's cohort, where we'll buy a text. We're still kind of shopping around for like a text that kind of focuses on teaching for social justice. And then we'll have a reading group that we really can get into those conversations around identity and what does it mean to be an educator that's equity focused. We learned a lot. I'm learning so much from this exit interview that I wish that I would have done a more extensive into interview. We did an orientation. We had them do a survey at the beginning. And then of course we met with them throughout the semester. But I think I think that we're definitely going to maybe start next year with an into interview as well, because we're getting to know some personal things that I think are super important for us. Potentially connecting it to a 1-point course in the future or half a credit. I know we have those internship courses at our community colleges. So I'm just thinking through, like, how can we also provide some credit, right, for some of the work they're doing. And then, of course, sustainability, funding, and capacity. How do we're always asking ourselves, like, how do we do this work? How do we do it better? But also, how do we, do it in ways that also center people's humanity, and knowing that our students are full-time students. Many of them have jobs. Claire and I are also kind of in charge of other programs within Hixon as well. So always trying to be mindful of how do we sustain this work. And I think part of that might be also reaching out to more of the counseling for that support. Yeah, thank you, Maria. So that's a lot of us talking. I want to pass it over to a couple of scholars that are in this space. Yesenia and Lauren and Zachary, we'll follow up with him. But if you can, share a little bit about yourself and your desire to become a teacher. What was your experience like in the program? I'm going to stop sharing my screen and have you all, just take it away. Well, maybe we can start with Yesenia.
Yeah. Okay. So hi everyone, my name is Yesenia. I'm currently a second year at PCC, and so a little about myself is that I'm currently a history major and I'm trying to pursue a career in teaching high school. And my desire to become a teacher is to help communities like mine, where resources were limited. And as a student, you really depend on your teacher to navigate you through your academic journey, but as well as your personal journey. And I want to be a teacher who can understand her students, because I came from the same communities they came from. So I just want to be that supportive figure in their journey. And my experience in the program was great. I absolutely loved it. I received a lot of experience and opportunities I did not think I would receive so early on in my life. One opportunity is that Hixon connected me to two internships, one at a nonprofit where I'm currently a tutor, and a second internship where I'm currently an intern. And I'm paired up with a mentor at Polytechnic School, where I go every week and work with students in a 5th grade classroom. And these experiences have really helped me learn what type of teacher I want to be in the future. And I keep I'm surrounded by a bunch of educators and different styles of teaching, and each one has their own piece of advice that really stick with me. And these experiences have really just helped me out a lot. And one of my favorite aspects of the program is that I love the community. I didn't have many friends before who wanted to go into teaching. We were all over the place with different majors and areas of study. But Hixon, the cohort, really, I found a community where I did not think I would find. We're all aspiring educators. We all have the same goals. We're constantly motivating each other, encouraging one another to do this, do that, like keep pushing through. And it's just where you all talk about the same interests and what type of teacher you want to be. And that community is just one where I love and really feel included in. And that's been my experience so far. It's been great. And I absolutely love the cohort. So thank you.
Thank you, Yesenia. I'm going to have, I love that. I'm going to have Lauren share a little bit about her experience.
So, hi everyone, my name is Lauren. I just finished my first year at PCC, and a little bit about myself is right now I'm majoring in social and behavioral sciences, but my ultimate goal is to be a special education teacher. I don't know what grade yet, but my passion to become a teacher actually started when I was in high school, when I was working with a lot of students who had special needs, and just being surrounded by them, the joy that they have in their face whenever we get to do so many activities together is just like so dear to my heart. And as a special needs individual myself, growing up, I always felt lonely. I always felt behind, and I never want any student to feel like that. I don't want them to feel like, oh, they have to survive on their own and they don't have any help by, a role model, an adult, or anyone. So I just want to be that person for them. And my experience in Hixon, I really liked it. I really enjoyed it. I love the connections that I've made with, my fellow cohort classmates and the connections I've made with Clara and Dr. Rojas. And although I feel like I'm still learning, I don't really have any experience, doing internships yet, but I have done mentorships with Dr. Rojas, as she's mentioned earlier. I can't wait for next year, and I can't wait to, keep growing and keep learning, and hopefully I will, be able to do more.
I love that. Thank you so much to both of you. We're gonna probably have some questions directed at you in a little bit, so just hold on tight there for a little bit. Ooh, ignore my super messy desktop there. But thank you again. And what we want to do is definitely open it up to Q&A and have one activity where hopefully folks, so many of you are in this space that are teacher educators, where you can provide us some kind of tips or suggestions for what we can do next year. We're right at the point where we're finishing up the semester, and we're going to take, about a week off and then jump into like planning for next year. So we want to have these ideas fresh in our mind. A couple other student testimonials is we're kind of meeting with all the students. Again, feeling some of the most helpful, memorable things, it sounds like for students for the program is a community. Time and time again, they say the equity conference was their favorite time. It was one of the few times where, aside from orientation, that every single one of them was together. They were working together at registration tables, moving around. The funding, financial support, definitely. We always wish we could give more, but that's, they said, is the most helpful. The counseling opportunities, like the internships outside of just the cohort. Things to consider, they were very specific in giving us suggestions, like, maybe we can do a group assignment, as opposed to all these individual ones. And then again, more reunions. They want more reunions and more opportunities to meet. So Steve, that's a great question. How did we select our internship sites? So the Polytechnic one, that one is a result of like 20 years. So it's before my time. That was part of also a donation from Adelaide Hixon, who donated to Poly. And so the kind of caveat with that is that they have funding to have about 8 interns every year. So we handle at PCC, we handle all the promotion, the applications, the first round of interviews, and then they do the second round of interviews at Poly. So they pay for it's a paid internship, which is great. We wanted to also, Polytechnic is a wonderful school, but definitely very prestigious and private. So we wanted to balance that out with organizations that are focused on different communities. So Adelante Youth Alliance, that just stemmed from a partnership that we developed 2-3 years ago. Reading Partners, I don't even remember how we got into contact, but that's 2 years in the making. And then Los Angeles College Preparatory Academy, they're a small charter school in Highland Park that I was connected to, that has an explicit ethnic studies wellness component to it, and they're doing a lot of things with like Indigenous knowledge. And so we paired a couple of interns with them. This is outside of the cohort, but a lot of our students take advantage of those. Because a lot of those organizations don't have money to pay for interns, what we do is if our students do about 70 hours worth with them, then whatever funding we do have, we can provide some scholarships or stipends along with that. So that's the way that it's been helpful for us, because those programs already have the infrastructure, they have the students, they have the experiences, they just need the students, the interns, right? The community college students to work with their students. So we're trying to provide some financial incentives for things like that. But again, some of it is relationships that we've created, and others are programs that were there that predate us. Yeah. Before we get to this Jamboard activity though, because it's going to be asking you to give us feedback about what we can do next year, I'm going to stop sharing for a bit. I'd love this chance to be an opportunity for you all to ask us questions. You have myself, Clara, our two of our students here. Please, if we can open it up to questions either in the chat, or if you could use your mic, we'd love to share this space with you all.
Hi, Letty, Mrs. Leah. So I just want to tell you how I appreciate this kind of sessions because I'm a teacher prep coordinator myself, and I always learn something. So I actually put in the chat that into interview is really, essential, I think, for our students, because we tend to, like, when they graduate, it's like our job is over, but it's really not over, right? We still need to make sure that they transfer and they transition well. So I appreciate that. I always learn something new. Um, and I know you may have mentioned this already, but I love the cohort idea. But do you also still serve the other future teachers outside of the cohort, right? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So we have a big listserv, about 500 or so students, and so they have everyone has access to internships, scholarships, and different events we have on campus. This is just particular to like the smaller cohort. So the award ceremony, we celebrated a lot more students that are getting associates. We're starting to connect with child development more. So the students who got certificates, it's like a larger kind of community, but we felt the need to be able to tailor, at least have one program where we have like the wraparound kind of experience.
Thank you.
Excuse me. My name's William. Please call me Bill. I'm sorry I don't have a camera on my machine. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you, Bill.
Oh, okay. Hi. Okay, Leticia, well, I just had a quick question. During this process, I've been attempting to apply for positions. Is there a way to sort of make yourself or make an applicant, or how can an applicant set themselves apart? Because I've run into some situations where I've tried to schedule in-person meetings. However, I keep being sent to websites like EdJoin. And the thing about EdJoin, I just think it's very impersonal, and uh, I, I don't get a lot of response from it. So what are some of the ways that you can really get your foot in the door? Because it seems, because I don't know, I was actually on the phone with my mentor this semester, and my mentor called HR in a school district, and they sent him an email to have me go to EdJoin. So he was pretty taken aback like that by that. But I don't want to point fingers or anything, but there seems to be like this, go to the website mentality. What are some of the vehicles to really engage and meet people? And I guess I should have led by saying one of the reasons I appreciate this program is because I'm able to meet people. But
yeah, and thank you, Bill. I appreciate that. And Zach, I see you. So we're going to have you come and present in a little bit. But it's interesting. I don't want to, take over the answers. And so if other folks want to jump in, we just had a career panel with our career center. So they they tailored a career event for educators, and that was open to everybody else. And one of the things I hadn't really thought about in terms of giving advice to students is it is a hard thing to how do you network, and how do you avoid just having to apply and then be not make those connections. So they said, whenever you attend an event and you feel like you connect to someone, or you feel like someone is a possible connection, that you should follow up with them after the event through an email and say, I just met you, or I just heard you speak at this event. Would you be open to having a conversation around XYZ, right? So I think that that's some kind of suggestion that is literally fresh on my mind, because we just had it, I think, last week or the week before. It's all a blur, but hopefully that's helpful. And I'll put my information in the chat, so maybe you and I can talk also a little later.
Great, thank you.
Yeah. We're going to keep with questions, folks. Thank you so much, Bill. I do want to add Zach to our space. So Zach, I want to make sure that that you're able to kind of just share your experience a little bit. We're kind of towards the end of that, but yeah, just go ahead and introduce yourself.
Well, first of all, I apologize for being late, guys. I had a little trouble here getting to school today, so thank you though for being here. I've been a part of the Hixon teacher prep program for the past year. So basically this whole college, these past 2 college semesters almost. And initially I had come to PCC with the goal of pursuing art. So basically studio art. And I had a desire to transfer to Art Center. However, as I continue to do research and also mature a bit, I got a better understanding that maybe this is not what I want to do. Maybe I don't want to become an artist. And because of that, I kind of did some research regarding education at PCC, and if there's any programs that really seemed interesting. And when I stumbled upon the Hixon Teacher Prep Program, I saw Ms. Rojas' name along with like Clara's and all that. And I saw that she was like the program coordinator. So I went to reach out to Ms. Rojas, and through there, she, briefed me a little bit about PCC, but also the Hixon Teacher Prep Program. And through her, I was able to get a better understanding of, the Cohort 2 Teachers of Color program, and also the internships that Hixon provides. But also on a deeper level, I got to better understand what I wanted to do in terms and what I wanted to teach. And from participating in internships and volunteering and interacting with other students who have similar goals as I do, I really learned that teaching is, yes, it's a very giving job, but also it is a job that if you do it correctly, you can be able to relate to the students and to the people you're working with, which I have been really thankful for and been really enjoying through the opportunities I've gotten. But that is also part of my also reason why I also really like the Hixon Teacher Prep Program, just because of not only do they provide you with a good community of people to relate to who all have similar goals as you do, and maybe even applying to the same colleges as you are, but also the opportunities to grow your resume, but also get experience in what you may be interested in, and also get a feel for what it is like to work in a classroom and be around other students. I believe it's all important. Thank you.
Thank you, Zach. I want to record snippets of what you all are saying and use it to promote next year's cohort. I'd love for folks to ask questions to our scholars. We have a little bit of time. They went through it, even if it's questions about what we could do better. So if any questions for our scholars from the audience?
Actually, yes, it's a quick question. I think for me, I don't have a lot of exposure to a lot of student age groups. So I would ask, what would be your experience, be it multi-credential versus single credential?
Yeah, so actually, so if you all can speak to maybe what kind of teacher you might consider being, right? Are you interested in special education, elementary, middle school, or high school? Or college, because I think Yesenia, you're also leaning maybe to college as well.
So I'm doing a single subject credential in history. I plan on teaching high school. As for the grades, I'm still not sure because it would just depend on the school and the district's curriculum, but I am interested in US history. So I will just need to work out with the district and the curriculum. And I am transferring as well. So I'm transferring to a four-year university this fall.
Oh, okay.
William, is it possible you could repeat your question, please?
Sure. Please call me Bill, Zachary.
Yes.
One of the decisions that I need to make is multiple subject versus single subject credential. And I think the multiple subject credential is for like K through like 6.
Yes.
So my thing is, are you able to see a lot of different age groups to make that decision?
Okay, that's a big question, just because a lot of that's due, exposure. I mean, similar to Senya, I'm also planning to go teach high school.
Okay.
It's about, I see it as, where are you most effective in age groups? You know what I mean?
Okay.
Whether that's through, and I think the only way you can answer that question is through volunteering, participating in internships. And this coming summer, I'm planning to work at a local camp in Pasadena, and do that. I'll get exposure to kids who are in middle school and early high school, and through the Hixon Teacher Prep program, I was able to work with elementary school students. So I'm working with a 4th grader right now, part of Reading Partners. So there, it's like you kind of can gauge, okay, I really enjoy working with 4th graders. However, something about, high schoolers are able to provide a level of, I guess, maybe different level of understanding compared to a 4th grader. And it's about what you enjoy doing the most, because the goal here is to find a job that yes, that's sustainable, but also the one that you could like, and the one that you could believe that you could thrive in for, like, maybe a good part of your life. So I believe through exposure, volunteering, internships, you can be able to answer that question.
Yes, I actually got a list of a teacher from Emily that I'm going to call and visit a classroom this semester. So
sounds good, Bill.
Following up, I do think experience really helps you. Getting experience through internships really helps you decide what grade you want to teach. Because my past 2 internships have been in an elementary school classroom, where I've been working with I worked with a 2nd grader through Adelante, currently in a 5th grade classroom. I love working in elementary school, but I do realize that I do want to just teach a single subject in high school. But I could always go back and teach elementary at some point down the road. But for right now, my interests are just high school, and I do hope to get more experience in a high school classroom. But I think choosing between multi-credential and a single credential just depends on the experience you gained and what subject interests you the most. For me, that's history, so it's usually just a single subject credential.
Okay. Yeah, for me, I'm kind of torn because I really like math, and I've gone through calculus and the like, so I think that I could probably help at a higher level, but in order to get there, I probably need more advanced education. So I may have to start at an elementary level, given where I am, with my education. So I just wanted to ask.
Yeah, thank you so much. Lauren, do you want to share a little bit about, I know you had talked about wanting to become a special education teacher. Any sense of what age group you might want to work with?
So far with my experience, I know I don't have a lot with, people in special education, but I know for me, what I have been advised is, if I am going into special education in the future, it's better to do multi-subject, because as a sped teacher, you're going to be teaching a lot, and you may be like teaching like multiple subjects. So, but for me personally, I really loved English. I always have been like more of like a reading and writing person. And so I think in the future, whenever I get to explore my craft even more and, do more like internships and field work and other field work, I will like choose which concentration in terms of like subjects I want to go to. And actually this summer I'm being a tutor for English in my high school. So I did it last year and I really enjoyed it, but this time I'm going to be doing it even longer. So I hope that maybe this will help me choose just one subject, or maybe if I just want to, go back and also just teach everything all at once. That's really great. And I think it's also good to have like an idea of how to teach each subject, because you never know, like
Okay.
if like, you know, whichever school you work in, if you know that if admin might ask you to, oh, can you teach this subject, or can you fill in for this teacher? You know, it's good to have an idea of what this course is all about. You don't need to know everything, but just, you know, the basic stuff.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much to, excuse me, to our scholars and Bill for those questions. I appreciate that. Folks, we're running out of time and I'm running out of a voice here. If you can go ahead and click on the chat there. I would love, you know, if you all could just give us any suggestions for us for next year. We are right at the, again, end of cohort 2. All of our students who are going to be at PCC next year are invited to attend our events, but we are going to be recruiting a new cohort of students. So just based on what you've heard, based on your own experiences, because you all have so many rich experiences, your own wealth of knowledge. I know some of you run like super amazing, you know, kind of college prep or teacher prep programs. Steve, you know, Batista is here. Leia, you know, you all are a part of like the mentorship program that serves like so many students. Any suggestions for us next year? Please, if you can go into the Jamboard before you leave today. And then I'm going to put my my information here again, and my email. If you at all want to connect and kind of have conversations in the next couple of weeks, or you know, anytime about our programs, or if you have an idea of, or you're doing a program and you feel like we could benefit from learning from you all, please connect. But if you can, go ahead and it's your exit ticket. Any suggestions for us for next year? Please put it in the Jamboard, and have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much for taking a little bit of your time to join us today. And thank you to, again, my co-presenters, Clara Lee, Yesenia Aragon, Zachary Kwan, and Lauren Claire Avellino for being here. We'll stick around for a bit, but have a great rest of your day.
Great. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, folks.